We're all a little depraved and debaucherous. Here is the king of podcasts.
We're going to talk about narcissism tonight on the program. This is King of Podcasts here with you once again. The website is ddradio.live, where you can find everything about this program, where you can find the show, which is available for distribution, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and all major podcast platforms, iHeartRadio, many other places. And with that said, I've been reading a couple books now. We're listening through them on Audible about gaslighting and narcissism. And so there's a couple of books I've been catching up on, and I think I talked about that and referred to it last week on the program. Let me just go ahead and pull them out real quick so I can just remind all of you what I'm looking at and listening to at the moment. So I just finished up Gaslighting, Recognizing Manipulative and Emotionally Abusive People and Break Free from Stephanie Moulton Sarkis. And right now I'm going through the book called Healing from Hidden Abuse, A Journey Through the Stages of Recovery from Psychological Abuse. Part of the thing is that for the longest time in my time, I've always wanted to try to understand what it was about the women I would be attracted to. Because I'd always end up going with different girls that were always somewhat a bit more, I don't want to say broken, but I want to say that they have been emotionally damaged. And I was attracted to more of that. But that's also because I had my own issues of being feeling somewhat damaged myself. And I don't want to say too much about why, but listen, I went to a religious school growing up. And let's just say this particular religious school, from kindergarten all the way to my senior year, they did quite a bit of their own gaslighting. They also liked to go and do things where they would fearmonger you. And they would bully you by using religion to scare you, to keep you straight, to keep you above board and behave. That's basically what it was being used for. Now, the intent of what the scripture says, what the Bible says, I don't dispute at all. And I believe wholeheartedly. And I've grown to be much more understanding and to understand better and reflect back as to what was being done. Because it's always with certain religions. That's why I tell evangelists are able to make so much money. Because they take what's being written and they can manipulate it and they can abuse and they can be the next Jim Jones and be able to do whatever they want to do to convince you they're all knowing, they're all powerful, whatever. They just make themselves feel like, well, they're so much more above ground than you, much more respectable than you. And there's a sanctimonious, hypocritical side to all this, which is really annoying. But that's what happened. And during the chapel services on Tuesdays, we might be subjected to videos, movies that would come out that were about 20 minutes long, specifically for the role of fear-mongering, of making people scared, making them repent, making them go up to the front of the stage and go down, bow on your knee, go on your knees, pray, and repent your sins. I mean, there is one way to go ahead and do that to kind of scare people into believing. But what we know what was happening was this was a tactic to keep everyone in line, keep everyone in check. And this is a school, by the way, where, you know, people paid for their kids. It was a private school. They let their kids come to this. And listen, I got educated. Don't get me wrong. But this is the one part that was ultimately not good. Not emotionally healthy. Because it affected me. I'll admit that my own feelings on sex and sexual acts, I'm not like every other guy out there where I have this appetite of like, where porn is so circumscribed and just, I mean, there's everything that's like hardcore, anything that's like whatever kind of deal you're into, that it just matters, you know, that you want to just be able to go ahead and penetrate a living, breathing female no matter what, without any real concern or any interest in the girl for her beauty, for her brains, for her youth, and for who she is and what she stands for. But see, now we're getting, you know, guys have already obviously been punished for that now. We're now at the point where certain actions have happened in society to create the dynamic that can't be possible anymore. Like the way that women and men were attracted to each other and how they met and how they would get together, it's all changed. And who does this greatly benefit? The people who are narcissists, who are gaslighters, who are manipulative. That is who's winning this war. And they are constantly destroying the beautiful women that we have. There are many beautiful women, because I have a much better way of looking at all things, because I find many women very beautiful. And of course, I understand and I can justify when some women are being much more beautiful than others based on youth, based on, features that they have that are specific and exclusive to them. I get that. But I can find a lot of women that I can find some beauty in. And that's not counting their heart. That's not counting their personality. That's not counting the person that they are. But it's those things, and also the various things, a woman as a provider, as a nurturer, a woman that is able to support and love and share her heart with someone that in some cases is not giving anything close back to what she's giving. There's a lot of good, people-pleasing, lovely, considerate, compassionate, and understanding, and just sometimes blind faith and love-hearted women. And they are treasures, and they should be protected. And there are many women that have been emotionally damaged. Not everyone, but there's a good, I want to say it's almost a half and half scenario, where guys might not want to believe that there's certain things that happen with women that, they have become victims of being abused in some way, shape, or form, psychologically, mentally, sexually, or mentally. Something happened. And for those women that have been able to make it through unscathed, God bless you. Because you know what happens? Those women, 99.9% of the time, you find them, you see them, you're going to realize it probably has a ring on her finger. And a big one at that. Because she has a man that loves her. Because the man realizes how good he has it. And he should thank his lucky stars. Because he got lucky. But then again, it's not always luck, of course. We know there are guys that are definitely quality men. Upstanding citizens. They're brave. They're courteous. They're courageous. They're chivalrous. And they care. They want to love. They want to protect. They want to be the father of their children. And they can't see a life without them. They can't see a life where she's not in the picture. Real love. Many of us, including myself, don't get to see that. But from the outside looking in, even at my age now, it does sound good. And I think I've let myself go through so many cycles of like being a little bit bitter and angry and upset that I'm at the point now where I don't want to give up on love. I don't want to give up on dating altogether. But I'm also not going to put myself out there just to be subjected and just to feel like I'm not getting anything out of it. Like, I know what I'm looking for in a woman that will absolutely make me stop everything, stop the world to be with her. And it actually is a lot easier than you would think. But I also know I've had a few things where in the book that I read about gaslighting, that the author does put a lot. She's a PhD, by the way, a mental health expert. And she absolutely does explain how if you start feeling some of these gaslighting techniques being put upon you, which I have, and I know I've been also one that has given that out. I'm not afraid to admit it. And a lot of you guys just fess up that you did, because you have. You've been a gaslighter yourself. You've done some manipulation, maybe a little bit like a white lie, but maybe not so controlling. And you might have been controlling, and you might have been jealous. You might have been a little aggressive. we have a lot of guys that I'm sure that are listeners listening to this program, wherever that you're listening from. You could be in the U.S., you could be in India, you could be in Europe, you could be in Asia, wherever. And I know I have an audience on here that is very diverse, 18 to 60, into their 60s. And I know that in various demographics, I have a pretty sizable female demographic, especially in the younger sense. 18 to 22, I have a lot of women listening to this program. And I appreciate all of you for listening, because I'm just trying to give the direction. Listen, I give the advice because I'm not trying to pursue you. Not for me. And that's why I think my intentions are good. And I've done all the research and I've done all the work. And this program has allowed me to go ahead and channel some of that work that I've done on reflecting on myself and reflecting on what other women have gone through as well. What other men have gone through, what women have gone through. And for men to understand and to empathize and to realize even more so that everything is not at face value. You got to look more at the woman within and decode certain things that might be expressed to you that you realize, oh, I'm getting this the wrong idea. I'm not realizing what is being actually said. Subcommunication. There are a lot of things women will say to us that are subcommunicating to us that we don't understand because we are too logical and trying to understand things, trying to make things practical, trying to make sense. But we are not wired like that, men. Women are wired differently. But that's because of the fact that, and listen, I say this, and I will say this now because I heard this not too long ago. While there's the whole thought process that men could try to think that they're better than women, but we as men do not exist without women. Period. And there's a reason why. They are our equal. Just accept it as fact. Now, I'm not trying to here to be, an anti-chauvinist. I'm not that. I am not nothing like that. Because I'm also telling the men out there that, and in some cases, you are encountering some women that might have gone through quite a bit. And when they have, you got to say to yourself, there are just certain women that have gone through a lot. And you could either be empathic and sympathetic and be patient and try to understand. Because if you really care about her, you'll put the time in. You'll put the effort in to do what she needs to make you be with her, or at least validate that there's an attraction between you two and there's something more. Now, someone, obviously, they don't do that. They're doing things with ulterior motives because there's also a lot of red flags when it comes to women as well. It goes both ways. There's no question about that. It goes both ways. So we have to wait. And you just need to realize when you're younger, don't take the peer pressure. As best as you can, don't take the bait. And women, please don't take. There are people, men and women, that you know that are friends with you, that are in their family. They're always going to say things to try to bring you down. The insecurities of what society brings you and what is supposed to be acceptable as beauty is not. It's based on who you're with and who you're around. But there are too many women that are beautiful that their insecurities will take the best of them. And they feel like they need to be altering themselves and changing themselves when it shouldn't be as a reaction to not feeling good about yourself. When you should only make changes because there are choices that you want to do that you feel like will enhance or will make a better statement of who you are and symbolize who you are and be a testament to who you are. So I'm not disputing, I'm not discouraging any woman that wants to get ink, get piercings, change her hair color, change her look, change what she wants to do at the whim of just at the snap of a finger. It's fine, but it's got to be your choice. And I want it to be where it's because of some kind of emotional trauma that you are burdened with, that maybe you don't go to a therapist for, you can't afford to go to a therapist, or you can't find ways to figure it out and just reflect on what happened. But as many times as I've said before, for men and women, confronting the trauma head on, understanding it, and then just realizing how to move on with your life, and still hold on to who you really are. That's a lesson I continue trying to teach myself every day. It's this kind of program. Hey, listen, I just took 15 minutes just to tell you that because it matters to me. And so I want to be able to share what I learned on this program, which I've been doing now for over a year. Like, I'm coming up to the actual 1 year anniversary. I think it's May 12th is the 1 year anniversary of when I switched from when I'm not podcasting to Depraved and Debaucherous. For the focus of the series, I wanted to make it where I'm explaining what happens and just saying, you know, that hopefully there's something that can be taken from my expertise. Listen, I am not the total expert here, but I've learned more than enough, and I've realized that I want to be able to say, I want to be able to just take what I've learned for myself and just do what I can to just bring out the best in all of us. I mean, just to bring out the best in terms of understanding and learning together. There are not enough shows out there and podcasts that do that kind of thing, but I thought this was very important to do that I can go ahead and take the time and learn along with you. Because you don't want me to be on this bully pulpit here trying to just say, I know everything better than you. No, I don't. But I know a lot more than I ever did before. And this is going back over a decade. And, you know, again, 30 years of dating and understanding all this. Just so I can get myself to the right point of understanding everything. And I'm trying so hard to learn. And I want to get there. And that's what I hope to do soon enough. Because I care. And I hope all of you understand. So actually, officially tomorrow is the 1 year anniversary of the program, of the Depraved and Debaucherous. We got to a year. I can't count how many episodes I've already done, but it's probably well over 100, because I did many episodes many times a week. But we've gone through a lot. And many times I have come back to the subject of narcissists, controlling, manipulative relationships, toxic relationships. I've gone through that over and over because it's important. And for those of you that found this show after I made the change, decided to stick around and subscribe to the show as you did, thank you for that. I appreciate all of you sticking around and hearing my voice here as we explain all of this. Because everything I'm telling you is not from reading anything on a script or anything that I take it from anywhere else. This is me, top of my head, explaining and understanding that I want to help others. It's like trying to just be, you know, that good Boy Scout. Just be better. Because I've always been a nice guy. I've always been the one who always wanted to be supportive and helpful. And that burned me many times. But in some way, I still need to feel like I need to be able to give back. I still need to be that people pleaser. And this program lets me do that. Just a much easier way to channel this out. As I record this here on a Tuesday night, late night, and I'm just going through and I'm explaining all this. So I want to take a couple of subjects that I brought up, that I pulled out of articles that came up that I thought would be important. Now, by the way, there's a whole lot that's written in the show description if you want to just take a look at all the different topics we're going to talk about. So first off, let's talk about narcissism, toxic romantic relationships, and the issues that go behind it. There's a lot to that. Now, there's a book that I did not read yet, but I was looking to go ahead and get that. It's available on Audible, and I didn't think about it, but I just thought, okay, I won't get to it yet. But I will eventually. So first of all, a story from NBC, or CNBC actually talks about, they talked about psychologists that shares phrases that highly narcissistic people always use and how to deal with them. And it's interesting. You know, it's the backhanded compliments or just the things that are being said that you think it might be a sympathetic apology, but it's not. It's backhanded. All these things that are going on. And to understand what the narcissist does is they are masters of gaslighting. Their primary goal in a relationship is to offset the insecurity of the person they're with so they can be able to control and manipulate. It's basically criminal, almost to a sense, but it's a controlling aspect. And you can see it in TV shows. I just watching TV. I was watching Law & Order SVU, and they were showing a story where this judge was supporting a guy that was an older guy and she is much older, and she had gone through a bad relationship, and then she got herself in with a new guy who was like this, kind of like she was kind of a bit of a sugar mama. I'm not saying it so much, but she was supporting him and all these different little ventures he would do, and he was just kind of like along. He was younger and handsome somewhat, but always found a way to just make her feel somewhat loved, make her feel beautiful, love bomb her, make her do things that would make her touch her heart and feel like, okay, I need to hold on to him. Just enough to make him stay. So here are 6 phrases. Number 1, I don't want to make this about me, but. It's a pseudo disclaimer giving them permission to only focus on themselves. I don't want to make this about me, but. So if you hear that, you got to realize to hear that. Like that's part of those things that it's a tell. Another phrase is, I'm sorry you feel that way. Narcissists have a hard time admitting fault, and it's a classic attempt at apology. If you're not getting a heartfelt, sincere apology, that's the part you need to have. And if you don't notice that, listen, you don't realize all this, and the narcissist and all this thing right here about the phrases that are coming up, these come in the relationship. But you never notice it until it's too late. Because you have to remember, the leverage is already on them because they have already done a good job of making you feel loved, feel wonderful, feel like everything you want to have. Because for the short amount of time that you're together, he will or she will have done everything possible to make you feel like you're too good to be true. You feel too good this is too good to be true. You feel like they are too good to be true. And your instinct, your intuition should tell you it is, and you should believe it, and you should actually follow it. When you have a confrontation with this said partner, and they tell you, why are you doing this to me? Because they're trying to get sympathy out of you. They're trying to get this to become emotional, trying to show that they're emotional. But to make the problem about them, why are you doing this to me? And just notice about the way that the person reacts when they say that. If you hear, I'm a busy person, I don't have time for this, creating excuses to not hear something that they can't, an argument they can't win. That other part's also big. I hope you know what you're messing with. Wow. So the other side of you, an evil side or the good side, a Jekyll and Hyde. When a person wants to put that on you and say, you don't want the other side of me. You don't want to see that side. It's like, if you ever do wrong by me, I'll make your life a living hell. And finally, it's not fair. Narcissists believe there should be a set of rules for them, a separate set of rules for everyone else. And a lot of times you might see where this happens, and you'll realize, oh, that's kind of where the Chads and Karens come from, We've talked about those many times. Chads and Karens, they possess narcissistic, controlling, manipulative traits. You can see that. That's why they react so badly to authority. Or react so badly when things don't go their way. They're expected to have special treatment, but they're not. They're not. Now, Debbie Mertzer wrote a book called The Covert Passive Aggressive Narcissist. And in the same vein, she has quite a few things I'm going to say about that. So, you could be with a covert narcissist for years, even decades, not see through their behavior. And that when you do therapy, it's like training for covert narcissists because it shows them the right language to use. So they might actually infiltrate therapy just to learn what to do to make sure to overcome what therapy might be done to someone that they are with that's trying to help themselves cope with what's going on with them. Covert narcissists are so skilled at manipulation that if you confront them, they can convince you that you're the problem. They find a way to just tamp down the situation. They try to find a way to tame it, to control it, to bring it back down. Because they have already shown you the softer side of them, the more romantic side. They can just turn that on as soon as you become upset, and as soon as you start getting unhinged and unwired. And improving a relationship with a covert narcissist can be impossible because love and harmony are not their goal. And when you realize that, then you say to yourself, why are you with somebody in the first place? And you know what's funny about the book on gaslighting? They talk about flying monkeys, which I never heard about that phrase until now. Because there are people that, when that narcissist is so well liked and so popular, coworkers, family members, they get them on their side. And once they do that, then you're stuck because now the narcissist is getting everyone to do their bidding by convincing you something's wrong with you. Why are you saying so many bad things about this person? This person has been nothing but loving to you. And that controls as well. It's a perfect storm of control to get other people as patsies. And they're not realizing that what they're saying is for the wrong reason. Isn't that amazing? Your Tango and Psychology Today actually put out stories about signs if somebody's too controlling. And in Your Tango, they talk about if you're getting sent text messages constantly. And this is for a woman, seeing that a man is being too controlling. Number 2, insists you do everything together all the time. Well, that's a red flag. You just don't. You got to be able to know that you have your own life and so does he. You can't have friends or family around. Well, that normally happens when you start getting into the relationship and then certain things that you would normally do change because of the relationship. So there's that. And being easily offended by innocent mistakes. And that goes for friends too, by the way. Because I had friends that I met through a friend and I hung out with them. And this was like the last group of friends. Like it was like a little bit of entourage. And these guys, this is my early 20s. What am I? Was about 25. And I remember going out with these guys and they were all weed smokers and I wasn't. But we would hang out and, I would be like the older one of the group and we would hang out. There would be sometimes we'd have fun. We could have a good laugh. But I realized that they were offended by innocent mistakes. I remember we were going down Clematis Street downtown. And I remember something about a guy kind of, it was like a crowded street and shoulder hit mine. Nothing. It was unintentional. And then 2 of the guys were like, hey, well, you got a problem? Trying to stir shit up. I was like, I didn't say anything, but they were trying to start things up. And the guys were smart enough to say, bro, shut up. Nothing happened. What's wrong with you? What are you trying to start? And they backed off. They were looking to try to start a fight, pick a fight. For no reason. Innocent mistake. And if a guy disapproves of your clothing, well, okay, if there's a point where the guy disapproves of what you're wearing and then wants to change it around, look, I understand, and women can understand, and guys can understand too, that I don't think there's anything wrong if a man or woman in a relationship wants to suggest what you should wear. Maybe even pick it out for you because it would be kind of fun. But, I mean, if it's a healthy relationship, I have to understand for me, I love a girl that throws on a pair of jeans, and just a shirt and just making it casual. I'm not really big about dresses. But I can't tell the girl she just can't wear a dress. I can't tell the girl she has to dress a certain way all the time. I know better. And guys need to do the same thing. Listen, you get your chances to go and have a girl dress the way you want. But remember, once you show her what you like, and once you tell her what you like, if she likes you and she loves you and she really cares about you, you're not going to have to ask at all. She'll start doing it just because she knows it'll make you happy. When you have a girl that will take those levels to do that and you appreciate it honestly, sincerely, and genuinely, that's a girl you hold on to. But how many girls are able to give that kind of effort, and it's the wrong guy? And it's not their fault as to why they landed that guy in the first place, because something happened to them to make them lead up to this. And that's what happens. Now, another psychologist talks about subtle signs you're in a toxic romantic relationship. It's all about power and control. Hidden warning signs are you feel a general sense of unease when thinking about the future. You're having trouble eliciting serious emotions or conversations with your significant other. Right. You can't have any deep conversations. Nothing like that. You have an overwhelming sense of responsibility for the relationship's outcome. That you have to be the one that needs to do better to make the relationship work. Their family and friends imply there's danger ahead. And the jokes about your partner's dating history or teasing about how you have to put up with them. The signs are there. And then your arguments never seem to end in a comfortable resolution. Right. Because there's going to be arguments. But the arguments should basically not have to go and end with the fact that, well, you always do this, you always do that. No. You get the argument through, and then you resolve it. And you just say, okay, take some time off. Cooler heads prevail. And it goes to that. A couple more things I want to bring up before we wrap things up on the program. We're going a little bit longer tonight. Cringy things that women can do to make them look desperate. And when guys see this, I'm going to tell you this, that if a guy notices that, and they're a narcissist, they're going to take this advantage and take you on. Looking desperate, which you don't want to do. But sometimes guys will be able to put you in the spot, or girls can put you in the spot and do this. Because guys can do the same thing being desperate. Number one, you ask a guy who rejects a relationship with you why you're not enough. And when you're just giving yourself that chance to be opened up again, to try to ask for that second chance, bad way to do it. Number two, you get super drunk on a date. Well, I don't know many people that do that right now, but if you're doing that, I mean, if you're able to go and keep somebody on a date, that's rough. Unleashing a TMI overload. Trauma dumping, basically. If you throw a public tantrum. If you threaten self-harm if he doesn't date you. Any guy that hears that needs to get out of there, but make sure that she also needs to be, somebody needs to check up on her if she's trying to self-harm herself. Not cool. You shame him if he rejects you or straight up insult him. You hit on taken men. You ever hear much of that anymore? And listen, remember we used to have MTV, we used to have guy code and girl code? I don't think those codes would even apply today, and that was not even that long ago. Imagine. Dropping your entire life for a guy. No. Anybody else, you can't drop your entire life for anyone. You have to have a life outside of that. Not healthy. And if you want to convince a guy you're more serious by being nice or more accommodating, you're playing into the trap for some guys. You go full nice girl or misandrist, right? That you can't do that either. And then you stalk him, you get pregnant to keep him around. Those are horrible things. And beg him for a date, sex, attention, or commitment. If you're doing any of that, you need to check yourself why you're dating and why you would put yourself in a spot like that. Because something happened to you to make you decide to go and feel that way, that you need to be that desperate. But then again, number two, because you behave that way, if you do with any of those signs, that means the narcissist is ready to go ahead and grab you. You are open and vulnerable to be taken. One of this I want to bring up, highly materialistic individuals tend to experience less flow in shopping. So they're saying that shopping is an activity that may facilitate flow experience, which is a state of total absorption in a task. Shopping is associated with positive outcomes for retailers, increasing intentions of return, spending longer times at the store, making more purchases. So what they're trying to say is that if somebody is highly materialistic, they're not going to shop as much. And the flow of shopping that benefits the retailers is not going to be as strong. That's something I just thought was kind of interesting. And that's the show for tonight. That's the way it goes. That's how we turn it out. And with everything going on, I hope you really appreciate my diatribe and explaining where I've gone with things in my past, understanding where everything's come up, and just saying to myself, wow, I am fortunate to be able to have this opportunity to this show. I have not regretted the decision to change the show from format to this. I think it was one of the best decisions I made, and I've enjoyed doing this program, talking to all of you about it. And so with that said, that's the show for tonight, Depraved and Debaucherous. Of course, the website is ddradio.live. You can find the show all major podcast platforms, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. Website, again, ddradio.live. You can also find me on social media at Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, at King of Podcasts. And so remember, until next time, it's okay to be a little depraved and debaucherous.